Today, we look at the first of three branches of Illinois government, the Illinois Legislative Branch, or General Assembly. On this slide, outside the meeting place of the Illinois General Assembly in Springfield, Illinois, you can see a statue of one of America's most revered presidents, Abraham Lincoln, who, before becoming the 16th President of the United States, served in Illinois state government. Lincoln entered American government on the state level as a member of Illinois' legislative branch, or General Assembly. Here, he served 4 terms as a member of the Illinois House of Representatives before running for and winning a seat in the United States House of Representatives as a representative of the residents of Illinois. He then lost in his bid to become a U.S. Senator before, as you hopefully already know, eventually winning election to the highest office in the land, President of the United States. So outside Illinois' General Assembly, they commemorate Lincoln's roots in government with a statue of the unbearded pre-presidential Abraham Lincoln. Remember that Illinois, like the other 50 states that make up the United States, based the creation of our state government on the government laid out in the United States Constitution. As a result, it should come as no surprise that when we look at the 50 state legislative branches, we find a lot of similarities. For example, all but one of the state legislatures is bicameral. Nebraska is the only oddball state for some reason. They are a unicameral legislature and only have a Nebraska State Senate. Less politicians, possibly? That's the positive. I don't know. 26 states call their legislative branch the legislature. Montana, North Dakota, and Oregon call their legislative branches the legislative assembly. Massachusetts and New Hampshire call theirs the general court, while Illinois and 18 other states refer to their state lawmakers as the General Assembly. Unsurprisingly, as we look at the General Assembly's responsibilities, we see quite a few similarities between what the Illinois General Assembly does for Illinois and what the United States Congress does for the United States as a whole. The primary or number one job of the Illinois General Assembly is to make laws for the residents of Illinois. So remember that there are federal or national laws created by the U.S. Congress that everyone in the United States must follow and abide by. And then there are also state laws that apply only within the boundaries of the individual states. For example, there is no law in Illinois that requires a motorcycle operator to wear a helmet. Other states do require anyone on a motorcycle, operator or passenger, to wear a helmet. Illinois does not. You do, however, in Illinois, have to wear some type of protective shield, goggles, or glasses while operating a motorcycle. This is just one example of the many differences between the states due to their state legislatures or lawmakers. Much like the United States Congress plays a role in the impeachment of federal officials, the Illinois General Assembly plays a role in the impeachment of Illinois government officials. And considering, as of 2021, 4 of the last 9 Illinois governors have been convicted of a crime and spent time in prison, the Illinois General Assembly apparently must stand ready to fulfill their impeachment role. The Illinois General Assembly does play a significant part in amending the Illinois Constitution, which they have done 14 times since the current Illinois Constitution, our 4th, was ratified in 1971. And lastly, the Illinois General Assembly also plays a role in adding amendments to the U.S. Constitution. You may recall that once the U.S. Congress officially proposes an amendment to the Constitution, the U.S. Constitution that is, 3/4 or 38 of our current 50 states must approve it before it is officially ratified. Illinois could choose to support or oppose a U.S. constitutional amendment. But remember, they are only one of 50 states involved in that process. Fortunately, the structure of the Illinois General Assembly should look familiar. It has an upper house, known as the Illinois Senate. And there is a lower house, which conveniently enough is called the Illinois House of Representatives. Now from there, the realities of the world will introduce some confusion. The Illinois Senate, unfortunately, does not have 100 members like the U.S. Senate. Instead, there are 59 seats in the Illinois Senate. And the Illinois House of Representatives does not have 435 members. Instead, there are 118 seats in the Illinois House of Representatives. Now, if you've noticed a relationship between the seats in the Illinois Senate, 59, and the seats in the Illinois House of Representatives, 118, then that is a keen observation, as there is a relationship. If you haven't figured out the connection, have no fear, I will attempt to explain. On the left-hand side of this slide, you can see a map of Illinois' legislative districts. Perhaps you remember the idea of congressional districts. This was the process used to elect representatives from Illinois and then send them off to Washington, D.C. to represent us in the U.S. House of Representatives. If you do recall that, then you might remember that the purpose in using the districts was to make sure that everyone in the state had an equal voice in the U.S. House of Representatives. We use the example that Illinois has 18 seats in the U.S. House of Representatives. Remember, you are currently looking at a map related to Illinois state government. And that without districts, the majority of those 18 seats that Illinois holds in the U.S. House of Representatives, if we held statewide contests to fill those seats, most of those seats would be filled by people from Chicago, because Chicago is the most populous region in Illinois. And as a result, if all those representatives came from Chicago, everyone who's not a city dweller, say individuals living in rural southern Illinois, would have no one to speak on their behalf. Consequently, to ensure everyone has a voice in the U.S. House of Representatives, we divided Illinois into 18 congressional districts that each had an equal population, and then elected one representative from each district. Well, the state of Illinois does something very similar to fill the seats in the Illinois House of Representatives and the Illinois Senate down in Springfield. However, instead of there being 18 districts, there are significantly more, because we have more than 18 seats in the Illinois House of Representatives and the Illinois Senate. So, in order to fill the 59 seats in the Illinois Senate, Illinois is divided into 59 legislative districts. You can see them identified on the map with red numbers. There is district number 50 on the west side of Illinois. If you follow the cursor, there is district number 51. And down in southern Illinois, we can see district 59. Here you are up in northern Illinois. You live in legislative district number 32, which I will zoom in on the next slide. From each of these legislative districts, those identified with a red number, an Illinois senator is elected. This Illinois senator then travels down to Springfield daily and represents his or her constituents in the Illinois Senate. They then take those 59 legislative districts and divide each one into two equal parts. Here you can see down at the bottom in southern Illinois, legislative district number 59 becomes representative districts number 117 and 118. Now, the size of these districts is not equal, but the population is, because the goal is to give every resident of Illinois an equal voice in the Illinois General Assembly, where our laws are made. 118 representative districts are thus identified by the blue number that you can see the cursor currently pointing at. And from each of these districts, a representative is elected who once again travels down to Springfield on a regular basis to give voice to his or her constituents or the people they represent. Here is the zoomed in version of the map that includes our legislative and representative districts. On the previous map, you can see that we are identified here up in northern Illinois with a yellow color. However, on this map, we are some version of green. So our current Illinois senator from legislative district number 32 is a man by the name of Craig Wilcox. And our current Illinois representative from the 63rd representative district, which is the district in which you live, is a man by the name of Stephen Reck. Once again, here you can see Illinois Senator Craig Wilcox, who is a Republican. And remember that the 32nd legislative district is then, for the purpose of electing members of the Illinois House of Representatives, divided into equal parts, creating the 63rd and 64th representative districts. And for the purposes of what you need to know, only the 63rd district matters. It is the district in which you live. And here, once again, is Stephen Reck, who is a Republican and a member of the Illinois House of Representatives from the 63rd representative district. If elected to the Illinois Senate, you serve a 4-year term. The Illinois House of Representatives is only a 2-year term. Before, if you liked the job, you have to run again and trick enough people into voting for you. Qualifications for both the Illinois House of Representatives and Illinois Senate are the same, so that's a positive. First of all, you must be a member of the nation, or also known as a citizen. Secondly, you must be 21 years of age, so you cannot rent a car, but you can vote on important pieces of legislation. And finally, you must be a resident of the district you choose to represent for 2 years prior to the election. Just like the U.S. Congress, there are leadership positions within the Illinois House of Representatives and the Illinois Senate. In the Illinois House of Representatives, that leader is known as the Illinois Speaker of the House, which may sound like a familiar title. And until that person is chosen by the other elected House members, the Illinois Secretary of State, who we will eventually learn about, presides over the Illinois House of Representatives. In the Illinois Senate, that leader is known as the Illinois Senate President. And until they are chosen by the other Illinois senators, the governor presides over the Illinois Senate. Since it was modeled after the U.S. Congress, it should come as little surprise that the lawmaking that actually takes place in the General Assembly very strongly resembles the lawmaking process we looked at when we looked at the U.S. Congress. First of all, and we are going to skip many of the details and just paint with a broad brush, but first of all, any bill that is going to become a law must pass through both houses of the Illinois General Assembly. The bill, if it succeeds in both the Illinois House and the Illinois Senate, then has 30 days to get to its next destination, which happens to be the governor's desk. The governor can then sign it, making it a law. They can veto the bill, which means reject it. However, the possibility exists that with enough support in the General Assembly, and specifically 60% support or a 3/5 vote, the General Assembly can override a governor's veto and pass legislation despite the governor's objection or veto. With impeachment of Illinois government officials, understand that the process, just like the one in the U.S. Congress, begins in the Illinois House. It is the Illinois House that will draw up the charges for which the government official will stand accused, if they believe there is enough evidence to charge the government official. The trial to determine whether or not they are guilty and thus removed from office or not guilty and get to remain in office is held in the Illinois Senate. If the governor is on trial, then the Chief Justice of the Illinois Supreme Court serves as the judge.